What's up, guys? It's Simon. So, today I want to talk about disempowerment. Now, I'm gonna link, I believe it's pronounced Peg Egyptian. I'm gonna link her video down below so you can check it out. But she brought up a really good point that I've never heard anyone mention before. And, it's something that I've thought about myself, but I've never heard anyone else talking about it. And she was actually acknowledging that men have been disempowered too, even though a lot of them have had, um, you know, higher up positions like congressmen and when the church was ruling America, church positions and pastors and presidency and all that. Especially in regards to society, they've been we have been very disempowered. We've been made to We've been made to think a certain way. We've been made to feel we have to look a certain way. We have to walk a certain way. We have to talk a certain way in order to be considered a man. It's one thing to go through evolution and, to have different lifestyles because you no longer need to do certain things. I.e., like hunting. It's not as necessary nowadays because of the cattle farms and because of supermarkets. Now, I'm not going to go into all the ethics and the morals about those topics. That's another whole conversation entirely. The point of the matter is, just because we've evolved doesn't mean that being a man consists of having muscles, walking with your shoulders up to your neck, and talking with an extremely deep voice. And it's so ridiculous how people... Now, before I continue, I'm obviously not referring to everyone. There are quite a number of people who don't think and believe and act and treat people this way. I'm talking about the people who do, and I'm talking about the popularized society that emphasizes and produces things that I'm talking about. That's what I'm referring to right now. Being a man, myself, it's just in this world, and it's been really difficult. And I don't think many people pay much attention to it. I don't think people give much recognition towards it. Especially women, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but how do I say this? It seems like that the problems that women have faced have gotten all the attention. And I don't say that what women have gone through is not important. It most definitely is. But it's not more important than what we've gone through. All lives matter. Any bad situation is worth paying attention to, no matter what sex, no matter what race, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what belief system the person may follow. All issues are important equally. And the issues that men have been going through have been really just ignored. Now, I am not much into politics, so I can't really give examples pertaining to that. But I can give examples in regards to society. One of the most recent ones being about the crop tops. Now, that should be something that is pretty superficial and non-important, right? However, when men started wearing crop tops, it was automatically labeled as being gay. Since when does clothing dictate your sexual orientation? I'm gonna go back in history for a moment and talk about men's fashion back in the day of Shakespeare. It was not gay for men to wear tights. It was not gay for men to wear heels or men to carry purses. In fact, that was the norm back in the 1800s. And yes, I understand that we're not in the 1800s now, but we had that fashion first. And I'm not trying to make it like, why'd you steal our fashion? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is something that's proven in history through paintings and through lectures and articles that talk about the fashion of back in the day. Why is it considered gay now just because fashion has changed? Why, it doesn't make any sense where people get these ideas from. Like, if you're not interested in sports, then you're a fag. First of all, you don't even know what the definition of a fag is. Because a fag is not a person. Why don't you look it up? And then you'll realize how dumb you look right now. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm just keeping it real and keeping it really hardcore honest. It's rude. It's disheartening. I mean, there have been cases where, and this is probably going to be as political as I get, but where men have been raped and you hardly ever hear about it. And it's not always because that it doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, it's because the men don't file the case towards the police. Why? Because they get laughed at. That's right, they get laughed at being raped. They get accused of being a pussy, of being a bitch, and that you deserved it. Now, I'm not saying that what men go through in regards to being raped is more important than what women go through being raped. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that it needs to be recognized just as much as women being raped. It's just as important. It's wrong, period. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It's wrong. Wrong is wrong, and it needs to be dealt with accordingly. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no need to discuss about it. It's wrong. It needs to be dealt with. I don't care if there are 900 cases of women being raped and only one case of a man being raped. There shouldn't be one case, period, on either side. Period. That's it. I mean, that's really all that needs to be said about it. Now, I'm not naive. I do know that there's supposed to be a balance in the world and that there will always be problems. And I know that there will always be at least that one case. And not that it's okay, but I accept it and understand, because it's about bringing balance. But that does not mean it needs to be ignored and belittled. Not at all. That's not okay. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. If something's going wrong, it needs to be addressed. And speaking as a man, we should be able to feel safe enough to confide our emotional side without being called a pussy or a bitch. Or being told to suck it up and deal with it. Or being called a crybaby because we're tapping into our emotions and actually being honest. How many women out there have repeatedly said that they want men to be honest, that they want men to tap more into their emotions, to understand them better. And then when a man does that, they get shit for it. Make up your mind. What the fuck do you want? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's messed up. Too many people all over the place. It's just really disheartening to be made to feel like you're inadequate, that you're not good enough, to be made to feel like you always have to change yourself, or that you always have to try and better yourself in a non-constructive way. Of course, there is a constructive way of bettering yourself to actually become a better version of yourself, but I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about where you're made to feel like nothing you do is right, where if you act macho, then you have people pissed off at you and calling you arrogant and egotistical and full of yourself. And then if you're tapping into your emotions even just a little bit, well, then you're a pussy, or you're a bitch, or you need to toughen up. It's just, just speaking as a masculist, and a masculist is it's kind of like a feminist. They stick up. It's a man who believes in equal rights, but sticking up for the rights of men. And it may sound weird, it may sound funny, it may sound like bullshit. But like I said, you don't know a lot of the problems that go on. I don't even know a lot of the problems that go on with men, and I am one, you know? But I know my problems. I know what I've gone through. I may not have gone through rape or molestation, but I've gone through a lot of bullying in regards to masculinity. I know that it's had me question who I am as a person. It's had me question what I believe in. It's had me question my sexual orientation. It's had me act in ways that I wish I never acted. Some were not necessarily unmoralistic, but not how I wish to act, and some were harmless, but I still wish that I didn't act that way because it wasn't true. And that's just not right. Men shouldn't be made to feel that way. Women shouldn't be made to feel that way. You know, it's just not right. And as great as it is that you know women are advancing into the world, and as great as it is as the goddess is coming back, I can't help but worry, are we going to go back to the olden times where it was women getting all the attention, getting all the reverence, and not actually reaching that point of equality? And this is just my own opinion, and you can disagree as much as you want, but I truly think the Christianization movement, or at least part of the reason why the Christianization movement happened, was because men felt suppressed. You know, I can't speak for them because I obviously didn't live in that era, but from what little bit I've read, just, for the first 6 months when I was first getting really heavy into paganism and witchcraft, I'm not gonna lie, I was really annoyed about constantly hearing about the goddess non-stop. And then hearing about how it was supposed to be equality, but then it's always about goddess, goddess, goddess. And then supposedly it's only Dianic Wiccans, as far as I know of, only Dianic Wiccans are the feminists that worship only the goddess. But then there's all this goddess talk from about Wicca, and I'm like, it's supposed to be about balance, but yet the goddess lives on forever and the god dies? That doesn't sound right. And I'm not asking for any explanation, so please don't tell me that, well, the god dies because the god's tied into the earth and the earth dies during the wintertime. Yeah, I know that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the lack of balance. Just because you have a divine masculine and divine feminine, you have, I'm not gonna say you have to, but I didn't feel it was balanced. I'll just put it that way. I didn't feel that way. And I didn't like that. And that's why, I kind of kept my own beliefs. I always felt it was one of the few things that I resonated with in Christianity was the triple God. And I carried that over into my practice in search of finding the triple God, and I did. And I'm very grateful for it. And that's why I'm going to advocate about it. And maybe I'll sound like, an egotistical person because I'm talking about the God so much, but I don't feel the God's talked about enough. I'm just gonna be honest. Everybody knows about the triple goddess. Everybody, every witch at some point hears about the triple goddess, but not many hear about the triple god. It's definitely gaining more talk, and I'm very grateful for that. But I want to have as much talk as the triple god. I want to bring masculinity to the same level as femininity when it comes to the craft. Women are no more better than men, and men are no better than women. Because it takes a man and a woman to procreate. At the end of the day, that will always be fact. Even if science decides that they can do like split stem cells or something like that to create clones or whatever, in the natural order of things, a man and a woman procreates. It takes both equally. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to really just get my voice out there in regards to this. And no, I'm not going to be doing lots of political videos. I don't engage in politics whatsoever. But I do speak up for what I believe in and what I feel is right. And I don't feel it's right that men's issues get disregarded, that men are made to feel like they're less than and they just need to be hard asses all the time, and then get shit for being hard asses all the time. It's not right, you know? There has to be a balance. The only way to live happily is to have balance. Thanks for watching, and blessed be my dear witchlings.